when we talk about Yom Kippur, when we talk about forgiveness and unforgiveness, unforgiveness is if you were on the call with Bonnie this morning, it's just about missing the mark, about, and the great thing is there's a million other opportunities to redo it and redo it and redo it again. And the original word sin came from an archery term of missing the mark. Now sin is what it is. It's just missing the mark. That's all it is. Suffering comes from when we hold on to the arrow. It's like we hold on to the arrow. We're like, oh, not only did you miss the mark, but you hit me, and I'll never forget it. So I'm angry about that. Or it can also come from the idea of pain and suffering. It comes from attachment, attaching to that idea of sin. Or even if you think about Cupid hitting you with an arrow and becoming obsessed with that, like that loving arrow, that can be a missing of the mark too. Because it's a distraction from what is true. And when we hold on to that arrow of love or arrow of hate, we become suffering. We experience suffering, which I think is really interesting. But it's so addictive to connect with and to hold on to these arrows. They almost define us, we think that if we give up the idea about this is wrong, that our fear is that we'll move into acceptance to a situation that we just find completely unacceptable. So that's why we hold on to the arrow, to say this is wrong. So we maintain it and we build up a defense around it. Otherwise, we'll be forced to accept this unacceptable situation. So don't we're doing it for the better good of everyone, to let everyone know about our suffering. This is, holy suffering, But the thing is that's not true. The ego will never tell us about the holy land of curiosity. The ego will say either, you have to hold on to this and suffer, or let go of it and be a loser. It never gives us the idea of what would happen if you just got curious between the idea of right and wrong. And, Dave mentioned it today. This is a holy house that doesn't have right and wrong, that we just get curious with each other. And so that curiosity is not about, the idea is to move to curiosity. It says, not necessarily how can I be right or how can I not be wrong, but the real question is, why am I suffering? Why am I choosing the suffering? And could I choose again? So the ego will have us forget, like I said, about that blank slate of curiosity, about the beautiful transition that curiosity offers us. Curiosity is holy ground. Being wrong is not holy. Being right is not holy. Being curious, being open-minded, that's holy. That's when we come without congestion, without agendas, without impediments, so that we can just be this open space for anything that wants to crawl across our shore, and we can contemplate it without judging it as right or wrong. Curiosity invites us to question. We can get hung up on being right or wrong and strung out, but if we remain curious, we become unstoppable. So curiosity offers us this type of grace. And curiosity, we could even say, is that mustard seed of willingness. The Holy Spirit says, I just need a mustard seed. And we're like, don't got it. I'm too busy holding on to this grievance. Like I have no willingness for that. Willingness is the hardest thing to come upon. But if we say, well, can I curiously be willing to let this go? Become even more gently to it. The dualistic world that we're groomed in this good and bad, gives us very little wiggle room for the game, for the actual game of playfulness. We go from black to white, and we don't experience the amazing and expansive experience of curiosity, of just playing. So the better question that curiosity ushers in is, did you enjoy the game? Nico played a game yesterday. Bonnie was saying his team got slaughtered. Not the important thing. I was the one who asked, did he win? Because before I asked that question, she told me, she painted a picture of happiness beyond what I could even known to ask for. She was like, we're sitting there and he did awesome and our family was there, and that's the idea. It's not win or lose. It's like, are you enjoying the freaking game that you're playing? This is a game. And all of that right and wrong is segregating us. And it's like death by a million cuts, as they say. So much like the byproduct of creativity that we talked about the other day, the byproduct of creativity are these funny souvenirs that we post up on our walls and say, look at this, look where I went to. That these trophies that we hand out for kids, everyone gets a trophy, not that I'm against that. But these trophies, what are they? When did we start handing out trophies? And as us moms know, they just gather, collect dust, and they end up in the basement, and they're just, and they never encapsulate the joy of the moment. Like, could we just hang on to the joy of the moment and not feel like we have to get a trophy for every time we do anything? And that brings us back to, did you have fun? When you get up to the pearly gates, if you believe in that, and I'm not sure if I do, but when you get there, they say, they don't ask you whether you're good or bad, but like, did you enjoy the ride? And I hope that you do, So I'm talking about symbols here. And you might say that, how can my life be just a game? This is my life. I need to take it seriously. Like, I need to win this thing. But the truth is, you come in naked and you go out naked. You really don't, this really is this interesting experiment at best. And taking it too seriously can drain all the fun out of it. I was once playing this game, Will will remember, I was playing this game on this team in California with like these really competitive women who were soccer players. And I don't know how I got invited in or how I even held my own, but I was feisty and I was fierce and I was just going to get that ball to the other side of the field. And we had so much fun. And one day this woman called me a biatch, and I was like, what? I was like, what? I was so indignant. And my family was there, and I was like, my kids were there, and my husband, and she called me a bitch on the field, And like I went to the dugout, and I was all puffed up like a big ego. And I said to my teammates, like, that woman called me a biatch, and they started laughing so hard. And I was like, what's up, And my mind switched to, oh, it's a game. I've taken it so seriously. It's a game. Like, yeah, people get to call each other names in games, and that's kind of part of the fun of it, And then I was like, man, I'm a bitch. Look at it. But it was when I wasn't willing to take that part of myself to be compassionate with that part of myself that I was annihilating it. That lives within all of us, and it's only a game, it's only a title, it's only a moment. Within you lives the spectrum of all things. So why not play with them instead of like saying some are good and some are bad? Why not embrace them? Why not embrace your inner bitch a little bit? I mean, wouldn't that be fun? We get to do that at this event. Anyhow, let me get curious, In the switch, I didn't need to make the other player wrong. I didn't make her wrong at all, actually. I was like, thank you, that was such a gift. I didn't need to make her right either. I just needed to get the joke. Byron Katie, who we're using her tools today, Loving What Is, says that everyone is a mirror image of yourself, your own thinking coming back at you. And so if that is the truth, then everything can be welcomed with curiosity. What is this thing that I'm seeing? In our house, some people are very attached to certain things on the news, and some other people are not. That's all there, Someone else might be really addicted to video games. Somebody else might be really into the politics. You can decide. You don't have to say, I need to watch this, or I need to be engaged in this, or I need to do this. You really don't. That's a choice. And there's a million other choices for you. So don't limit yourself by only ordering off the menu that society is serving up. I mean, give yourself a little more credit than that. These are your only days you have, and you're going to spend them eating bullshit. Okay, sorry about that. Anyhow, if this type of undoing in this type of undoing of looking at, we get to experience our own renaissance. The word renaissance means new birth. And for, the Jewish culture, this is a day of new birth. This is a day of new thought. This is a day of new ideas, of new inventions. When we move from right and wrong to just curiosity, we get to inspire all kinds of new ideas that were never there before. You get to mix and meld and mingle with all kinds of fantastic things and not conform to the few things that seem to be the loudest in our society. You get to play again. Most of the kids, if you look at kids, they're not engaged with some of the BS that's flying around. They're staying in their playful nature. And if they have the right to do that, so do you. And guess what? The world's not going to fall apart if you don't engage in more. It's just not. In fact, we might be surprised at something else being blossomed and blooming from our ability to stay in love. So during the Renaissance, during the actual Renaissance of our history, some really interesting inventions were created. One of them was the compass, and one of them was the printing press. And so the compass that was invented during the Renaissance allowed us, I mean, it wasn't saying like, you know, I don't know which way to go, or you're going the right way, or you're going the wrong way. It was like, hey, we have this tool now. And now we can chart waters. And now we can go on adventures and go to places we've never been and find our way back. And we can also say, hey, I went to this place, it was so cool. And now I can write you a map, and you can go there too. It was this magnificent tool that was invented because we moved into a space of Renaissance, of new book, of open-mindedness. Then the printing press was invented. The printing press, at the time, before the printing press, everything was printed by the church. And so the church controlled all of the information, right? And so they were able to do with it what they will, and, you know, in the hands of, in powerful hands, sometimes things can become corrupted, as they've been known to do all the time. And during the prior to the Renaissance, the Catholic Church was selling something called indulgences. Whereas if you were a bad person, you could just buy your way into heaven, no problem. Great deal. I mean, I wish I had thought of it. Right? And so some guy named Martin Luther came around, and he, I'm not sure who created the printing press, but he... who?
Gutenberg.
There you go. And such an intelligent community. Yeah. And so Martin Luther began to study Latin so he could understand the Bible and reprint it in German and make it available for more people and have a different, not a different, but a more expansive interpretation on it. And then we could print, we could begin to tell our stories as well. So this printing press was an amazing, and the compass were two amazing things that allowed us to move into and into adventures we'd never been invited to before. And those are symbolic ideas. Because the truth is that compass and that printing press lives within you. You have your own compass. You have your own printing press. Your compass tells you where to go, what to do, and what to say. Your printing press continues to put up your own news of what you're willing to tell out to the world. And you're responsible for that printing press and for that compass. So if you don't know it's there, if you don't know you're responsible for it, you'll never take care of it. You'll just continue to be, you know, a piece of trash in the wind that floats around from one thing to the other and blames the world for the conditions of itself. But with these two tools, and knowing that you have these two tools, you can carve yourself and craft yourself the most magnificent life. Again, your internal compass and your internal printing press. Take authorship over them. Now, the thing about Martin Luther, you know, I want to give him a lot of credit for making, you know, the Holy Word more accessible to all of us. But, you know, no man is all good and no man is all bad. And in the end of his life, he expressed a lot of antagonistic views actually towards the Jewish community. And some of the writings that he came up with were, you know, about confiscating money, liberty, and curtailing, you know, Jews in synagogues, you know, and luckily it wasn't really embraced as a full philosophy. So he ended up sullying his, you know, his forward thinking towards the end of his life, you know. But again, like, we get to stand here and look at that history without saying this is right or this is wrong. You know, just to get curious with it, because if we get curious with it, we'll say, where does that live in me? You know, where is that an idea that, you know, when I get to have some power and put out my printing press that I want to spread vitriol? You know, where do I want to break someone else down so I can feel better about myself? You know, let's not think for a minute that we can hang it on one guy. It lives within us as well. So we get to look at that. So one of the things that we get to do is in regards to our grievances, and then we're gonna contemplate this and put it into conversation. But in regards to our grievances, Byron Katie's given us this great tool, and it's called Get a Grievance, Write It Down, Ask 4 Questions, Turn It Around. So if you get a grievance, you can think of, I mean, you don't need to get a grievance, you have them. I'm sure you have a few. Pick a number, any number, right? So you take that that grievance, and then you write it down. That's actually part of her recipe. And why do you write it down? Because as long as it's swelling and swirling in your head, it really allows itself to not be tethered to anything helpful. It can continue to run the show, and you can continue to trace it in your head. And we've all experienced obsessive thinking, and that's what that is about. But when we begin to write it down, it begins to anchor it onto the page so we can get separate from it and actually take a good long look at it. And when we get to take a good long look at it, my grievance is blank, we get to ask these questions. And the first question is that true? Now, a lot of times, the whole thing is debunked right in that question. Is that true?
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more tips and tools on how to be a spiritual vixen, go on over to my website, MaureenMuldoon.com, and you can sign up for my love notes. Until then, I'm Maureen Muldoon, the spiritual vixen, reminding you to love more, fear less, and don't forget to laugh.